Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Midlife Reinvention Podcast. It's your coach, Kavita, and welcome to a brand new month of possibilities. June is here, my friend, and with it comes the start of a new series I've been preparing for, a series I'm calling My Story. Today is episode 308. Over 5 years since I began this journey of this podcast, and I'd like to make good on a promise I made to you a few episodes ago after my son's wedding. I told you then I would share more of my story, the real truth of how I got from where I was to where I am today, and all the identity shifts I've been through. Today is where that begins. I'm so humbled and grateful to be sitting here right now with thousands of listeners around the world who tune in every week when you could really be anywhere listening to anyone. And I don't take that lightly. I am also so grateful for my beautiful clients who have encouraged me to share more of my journey with you. One in particular, Jen Slavin, is one of my dearest clients who in our last session said to me, Kavita, I'm curious about your journey and why you don't share more of it on your podcast. The good, the bad, and the ugly, for all your listeners to learn from. She wants me to talk about what my gremlins were and still are, how I did this, how I started, why I decided to become a coach, the moment I discovered my ikigai, my path before coaching, and what were my pivotal moments in my own midlife journey. Jen, I thank you so much for these questions because in asking them, I realized others may have the same questions. And it also made me think, why haven't I shared all of these details before? I have in bits and pieces, but not in detail. I asked myself why, and truthfully, it was my own inner critic stopping me. She was whispering that you weren't interested, that this podcast is about you, not me. But my inner wisdom knew better. She was telling me, of course, share your story. So I'm giving the energy to her instead. Jen kindly also suggested that I bring it open to you, my listener, to ask me anything. What do you want to know about me, my journey, or anything you want to learn more about? So as a result of Jen's thoughtful questions, I'm opening it up to you to ask me anything. All you have to do is send me an email to kavita@itsmytimenowcoaching.com and ask me your question. And I promise I will answer your questions in the upcoming episodes. Now, before I go back to the beginning, here's something I want to say. This series is called My Story, but really it's our story. Because in all my years of coaching women through midlife transitions, I've come to understand something. The details of our lives are wildly different. The countries we were born in, the families that shaped us, the careers we built, the moments that finally cracked us open. All different, but underneath those details, the themes are remarkably the same. The restlessness that has no name, the success that no longer feels like success, the identity that no longer fits but we don't know how to shed, the dreams we have for ourselves that often have not got realized. So, as I share what I share over the next several weeks, I want you to listen differently. Not for facts about me. Listen for the places where you recognize yourself, where one of my questions becomes one of yours, where a piece of my path lights up a piece of your own, where you find yourself thinking, oh, I felt that too. Because the gift of someone else's story is never the story itself. It is what the story unlocks in you. So, while you're listening to mine, the work is to listen for yours. So let me begin. Many of you may know that in addition to being a podcaster, I'm a career and life transitions coach. And I absolutely love what I do because I get to guide and witness firsthand transformations in people's lives which quite literally alter the trajectory of their lives. It is truly a passion that I think I was born with. Our histories matter, and I'm sharing mine because I want you to think about yours too. What were you like as a child? What events led you to where you are now? And what formative experiences can you connect the dots to where you are now? For those of you who don't know, I am Indian and I'm also Canadian. I was born in Nairobi, Kenya, and my parents came to Canada when I was just 2 years old in 1968. I often talk about the adventure and entrepreneurial spirit of my grandparents and my parents, and that really didn't dawn on me until I excavated my own entrepreneurial nature. Think of this. In the 1930s, my grandparents moved from Punjab, India, to Kenya, a totally wild country completely different to anything they had ever known, to establish the railways there. There was no internet, no nothing to prepare them for what lay ahead. That's how our ancestors were, weren't they? Have you ever thought about yours? Where were they born? Where did they move to? And what clues did they give you about your own journey and personality? At that time, so many Indians moved to East Africa and they established themselves as business people, farmers, entrepreneurs, by nature. They had to amalgamate into a completely new culture, language, and environment. My parents described it as living in the most beautiful but wildest and exciting place to grow up in. As my grandparents established themselves there, they learned the language, which was Swahili. They became merchants and laborers and successful business people. They established their own community and raised their children in a simple life. My parents were educated there, and my father was also an entrepreneur and eventually had a successful wheat farming business, among many other things. My mother became a teacher, and their love story is one for the ages. My mother used to watch my dad drive past her house every morning at 8:30 a.m. in his convertible with his dark shades. He was an extremely handsome man, and he still is. And she used to dream about marrying him. Again, the dream. She fell in love with him without speaking a word to him. And so it goes. They met, and he equally fell in love with her. And before he was meant to be whisked away to India for arranged marriage, he asked my grandfather for her hand in marriage. Such an innocent and beautiful story. I never get tired of hearing it. Sometimes I wish the simplicity of those times would be here now. So they got married and had a beautiful life in Nairobi and on the farm, raising 3 girls, of which I was the youngest. As history goes, political tensions forced Indians to leave East Africa in the 60s, and they had to relocate. Imagine that, having 3 young daughters, a young couple and family, and having to uproot to another country. Where in the world would they go? The bravery my parents showed by choosing Canada, its harsh winters, hardly anyone around them that looked like them or spoke their language. History repeating itself again. The immigrant story is so rich with contrasts and lessons. Without that bravery and vision for a successful life for their children to guide them, I wouldn't be here speaking with you about this today. Imagine the vision and courage our grandparents and parents must have had to establish a life for their children, going from a place of familiarity and comfort to completely unknown places, with only the belief that it would all work out in the end. Have we lost that same vision and bravery? I sometimes think we have. We get comfortable in where we are, and in any thought of moving beyond that box of comfort gives us anxiety. It's not only in where we live, it's in everything we do. What if our parents had remained in their respective boxes? What then? So they did move, and as young girls growing up in a new country, I was just a baby, so I really knew nothing else. We watched our parents work so hard, struggling to make ends meet, but never in my entire childhood did I ever witness them complain. They slowly developed a community of friends, established themselves in their careers, bought a home, put us through school, and with that same entrepreneurial spirit explored their new surroundings. It reminds me that when we complain about what we don't have, more of that will come to us, versus if we appreciate all that is in front of us, more of that abundance will flow to us. And they did just that. In whatever they did, they made the most of it. I'll never forget, as a child, our parents would take us camping throughout the country in the Rocky Mountains and all throughout Canada and the US, to explore, to learn about new cultures, to meet new people, to appreciate the world around them. Do we build these same type of communities and friendships now? Do we explore the nature and life and places around us? Even going for a walk in the woods, or for that matter, around our neighborhoods? So the next chapter of my own story begins in my teenage years. As a young girl, I was always fascinated by reading because it just took me to places I'd never been allowed to see, and it really allowed me to dream. My husband always says that I'm a dreamer, and that's what he loves about me, and that is truly where it comes from. I would read and I would write amazing stories, and I actually forgot about that passion I had when I was a child until much later. What were you passionate about when you were a child? And do you remember how you felt when you pursued that passion? Can you bring that same passion into what you're doing now? As a daughter of immigrant parents, they had always instilled values in us. And the value of education and marriage and raising children was instilled in us in a very young age. If I'm going to be honest, they never forced this upon us. In fact, my two older sisters were encouraged to pursue a shorter college education versus a university degree so that they could get married sooner. But I wanted nothing of that. I had a desire, always had a desire in me to learn more, to be educated, so it would open up doors that I could walk through. I was top of my class in high school and into university, and I was the only one in my family to get not one, but 2 degrees. And my love of learning has really never left me. And that brings me to another point. Our values. Where do they come from? If we look at our histories, a big part of our value system is ingrained from a very young age. Education, marriage, community, respect for elders. Those are the values I was raised with, yet we develop our own in different transitions in life, and those values can and do change. So why do we stay stuck in the same old value system and then wonder why something feels off when we grow older? Sit with that for a moment. The values that built your life may not be the values that are calling you now. And that doesn't make you ungrateful. It makes you ready. My parents inherited their bravery from their parents. Their parents inherited it from theirs. And here I am, generations later, having inherited every bit of it. But somewhere along the way, I forgot. I forgot that I came from people who crossed oceans. I forgot that the same blood that built railways and farms and new lives and new countries was running through me too. So what I want to leave you with today is this. Every one of us is standing on a foundation built by people who were braver than they had to be. People who chose the unknown over comfortable. People who believed in something they couldn't yet see. And underneath, whatever transition you are sitting in right now, whether it's the career one, the marriage one, the identity one, the empty nest one, there is a version of that same bravery waiting inside of you. The question is whether you remember it or whether, like I did, you forgot it for a while. Next week, I'm going to take you into the years where I did forget. The years where I followed the playbook beautifully. The education, the career, the recognition, the marriage, the life that looked exactly right from the outside. And how a life that looks exactly right can still leave you, decades later, quietly wondering why something feels off. If that is the chapter you're living in right now, I want you to come back next week. I think you'll see yourself in it. In the meantime, sit with this. What did you inherit that you have forgotten about? What courage is sitting inside you, waiting for you to remember it? What part of your story have you stopped telling yourself? And one more thing before we close. This whole series is being shaped by you too. If there is a question burning in you, something about my journey, your journey, or anything in between, send me an email at kavita@itsmytimenowcoaching.com. I will be answering your questions in the episodes ahead, because your story matters as much as mine, my friend. And the whole point of me telling mine is that you can begin to tell yours. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you listen, because next week's episode is one you don't want to miss. And remember, you get to decide what comes next. So say it with me, and say it with confidence. It's my time now.